Okay. All right. So I just wanted to say welcome. We're going to be going over the course in our overview as well as the syllabus. So once we get into our course here on Canvas, you're going to notice that we kind of are at the welcome page. Last week, you got an email from me kind of letting you know kind of some pre-course information. But for the most part, and many of you have had me before for multiple courses in some cases, but there are some new faces. So we'll be going over how things run here. And if you've had me before, you're going to notice some similarities to previous as well. But as we come in here, this is going to be kind of your welcome page. You're going to notice over on the left-hand side are going to be the places that are going to be of most interest. The announcements, if there's anything new, you'll always see those in the announcements, but those announcements will always get emailed to you as well. And then what we're going to focus on right now is going to be looking at our syllabus. So our course syllabus is going to be found here, just a very generic schedule. As we look at it, you're going to notice, we're going to be covering different modules, and they pretty much go along with whatever the week is. So I believe we have 8 modules, we have 8 weeks. So that's how we're going to be kind of running things. The syllabus is in PDF format here. I'll pull it up here if you want to follow along on your screen, or if you just want to follow along here, that's totally fine. So as we look, our course number is 606-170. This is called Kinematics. This is a 3-credit class. There's going to be 80 hours that we're going to be meeting in term fall 2. And sorry, I didn't update the year, but it is 2024. So that's what we have for kind of the basic information. The format of this class is considered face-to-face / hybrid because I do offer some flexibility in how you can attend. Now, location-wise, I am always going to be virtually live from the classroom on Mondays and Wednesdays. But on Fridays, we're going to be virtual via Zoom. So I won't be on campus in this room on Fridays. I'm going to be from Zoom from my home. Now, the times that we're going to be meeting are going to be from 5 until 10 to 9 or 8:50 on Monday and Wednesday. And then on Friday, it's a little bit shorter. It's going to be 5 to 6:50, so about 2 hours. So the course description here, I'm not going to read this to you. We're going to be dealing with motion, and we're going to be covering it in a lot of different ways, most specifically through mechanisms. And we're going to be analyzing those mechanisms, not only for displacement or position, but also for velocity, acceleration, and such. So that's all there in the description. Prerequisites for this course, so things that you would have had to have done successfully before getting here are, first of all, you have to have technical statics done, as well as tech drafting and calculus 1 done. We aren't going to be spending much time on calculus. I think there's one subject as we go along, so most of it is going to be algebra trig based as we work through things. That gets us pretty far. The textbook that we're going to be utilizing is called Machine and Mechanisms by Mishka. It's the 4th edition. I'm going to pull it up underneath my camera here. So it looks like this. I know that earlier today, I have a basic mechanisms class that uses the same book, and the last books were purchased in the bookstore. So you might be put on a wait list if you want to get them through WCTC. Otherwise, they are available through Amazon or online. I think there's a little bit of a wait list for that, or a wait time for that, but in the early stages here, you should be fine without having a book. You can always get copies or take pictures of my pages here as well. But this is the book we're going to be working on. We will be using it every single module. So every single week, every single assignment that we have, everything is out of the book. So we will be getting our money's worth, I promise. As far as other course materials, it's a good idea to have a flash drive to, number one, be able to use your files maybe at home and here, but also as a backup. It's always good to have that for that as well. Scientific calculator, pencil, computer with webcam for our Zoom days, and then also good internet access. I'm your instructor, Kelly. So like I said, many of you have had me before. There are a couple new faces. My email is kriba@wctc.edu, and I use my personal mobile phone for you to get a hold of me. So if you wanted to text me or leave a message, you're welcome to do that on my mobile. Get John in here. Okay. I will do my best to respond to your communications within 24 hours. I'm pretty good, but if for some reason you don't hear from me, just retext me or send me a little message reminding me. Because sometimes, as you know, if you get a text and you're not in a place where you can answer it right away, sometimes they move down the list and then they get forgotten. So make sure that you remind me. I do say here, I don't guarantee responses on weekends. I will. It's just not going to be as immediate as I am during the week. And also after 8, it's not that I won't respond, but sometimes I go to bed early. And so, because I get up early. So if you're trying to get a hold of me and it's after 8 o'clock, just know that I'm not ignoring you. It just might not be that I'm available. As far as the Zoom virtual link that's in our course, our Canvas course, and I'll show you where that is when we go over and we look at Canvas and how it's set up. And then as far as my office is directly across the hall here in the administrative offices. And if you did want to meet with me outside of our class time, just call me for an appointment and we can set something up to meet when it's convenient for both of us. Now, what are you going to learn in this class? You're going to notice that there are a number of competencies here, and these are the things that we're going to be, focusing on as we move through this term. So we're going to learn about basic mechanism diagrams, evaluate displacement of mechanisms. You're going to be able to design mechanisms by the time we're done, evaluate velocity and acceleration of mechanisms and points on mechanisms, generate math models or use Excel in order to simulate the motion, as well as look at gear drives and belts and chains. So lots to do in 8 weeks. As far as critical life skills that are going to be addressed in this course, pretty much everything that WCTC has. So communication, critical thinking, problem solving, relationship building, as well as self-management. As far as program outcomes that are going to be addressed, again, I'm not going to really spend time reading these to you, but again, it's using math in order to solve problems that relate to kinematic analysis or layout. As far as external standards, there aren't any that apply in this class. We will be using CAD to solve our problems and to lay them out, but the drawings that we create, or the layouts, I'm going to call them, that we create, are not going to be used to manufacture parts. So we won't be applying the ANSI standards. So you're not going to have to worry about dimensioning and tolerancing and GD&T or anything like that in this class. We're going to find out that we're going to be just using it as layout. But there are some standards that we have to, or some standard ways and symbols that we're going to be using for our diagrams. Technology. In the mechanical design lab, whether it's in 206 or 210, all of the software that you need for this class is loaded on these computers. So there is no need to run out and get a personal computer or feel like you have to have access to everything outside of WCTC, because it is here. It's only if you want to have access to these things when you're not on campus. So, so if you wish to have off-campus access, AutoCAD is going to be one of the tools that we're going to be using this term. If you had me for tech drafting last year, you would have had the opportunity to get a free student license. And I'll show you when we go to Canvas where that's located to get that downloadable link. And it's good for 1 year though. So if you did it a year ago, you're either, at the end of that subscription, or, oh, hey, Chris, you were just on here, weren't you? That's okay. You might be at the end of that subscription, or maybe it's going to be, or maybe it's already expired. So, so you will have to, if you want that access again, you will have to re-up for it. So we'll talk about that when we look at Canvas. As far as privacy practices, none, or accessibility policies, those are none as well. As far as technology, just a solid understanding of navigating the computer system, getting around in Canvas, and then also AutoCAD, which is a prerequisite for all of you. If you need any help technology-wise, our WCTC help desk or service desk, the number is here, or you can email them at the address that you see there. They are fantastic. I unfortunately am not a good like back of the files type of troubleshooter for AutoCAD, but our help desk is. They're the ones who load all the software in all of our labs. They're also the people who load software on like my instructor and station. So it's already like magically appears for me. So if you do have any issues, especially when it relates to even off campus, problems that you might be having with any type of software that you use for school, you can contact them, and they're usually pretty good at helping you work through that. Now, how will you be graded in this class? This is usually what most people are interested in. So there's two parts to your grade: the practice problems and the module homework assignments. There are no tests and there are no quizzes, but there is a lot of homework, okay? I choose to do that as my give up because in an 8-week time frame, we kind of move pretty quickly. And I hate to give up an entire 4-hour block for a test or a quiz. Okay. I would much rather have you guys just practicing in other ways. So, so that's how I kind of choose to do it. So, so there's those two things that are going to make up your grade. What is your grade going to be and how will you receive it as far as percentages? You'll notice that you have the grading scale here. This is the standard WCTC grading scale. So I use that in this class as well. You can expect feedback within 3 school days, usually faster than that. I really try to turn around and correct your assignments as soon as possible because I do in some cases give you the opportunity to make corrections. And I want to be sure that you're able to do those and you know where you stand, as soon as possible. If you do notice that I am delayed, it's kind of weird, but when I go on the grading book, and some of you have heard this before, when I go on the grade book in my computer on my laptop, I don't see like a list of what's out there that I have to grade. I have to go into each separate assignment and see what ones are, not graded. But if I look on my phone, and that's why I usually have it in class here, because when we're in our work time, my phone on the app, I have a place that I can go and I can see what I still need to grade. So I use that usually if I can, kind of helping me. So depending on what I have in front of me, it's either easy to see it or not. So remind me if you find that I haven't corrected yours and I should have. As far as course policies, let's look at attendance. How often do you need to come to class? You're required to come to each one of the classes that we have, but I try to be as flexible as possible in how you attend. So just like we're doing right now, you're going to notice that I'm in the room. As I said, on Mondays and Wednesdays, I'm going to be in this room doing our normal lecture demo. At the very same time, I'm virtually live via Zoom, and I have a couple people that are attending that way. There's 2 people right now that are doing that. You're welcome to do that on Mondays and Wednesdays as well. But on Fridays, we will be fully Zoom. So I won't be here on campus. Now, you might be able to, you can't get in this room, unfortunately, because the administrative assistant leaves at 4:30. You'd have to be here before 4:30 to get in this room. But does anybody have an issue with being Zoom on Friday, like location wise, other than WCTC? Okay. All right, great. And usually it works out pretty good that way. So make sure that you are either virtually live in person, or as stated down here, if you're unable to attend, just make sure that you let me know ahead of time that you're not going to be here. It's kind of like treated like you would out in industry. Before class starts, I expect you to let me know if you're not going to be here. That's considered an excused absence, and everybody gets one excused absence, as no penalty. But any additional excused absence that you have is going to reduce your overall grade at the end by 2%. Okay. So it's my way of saying, kind of make sure you're here, put a priority on it. If you have an excused absence, you don't have to tell me why you're not going to be here. Just let me know that you're not going to be here. So, so don't worry about that. That's none of my business. But if you're unable to attend and you don't let me know ahead of time, or you don't notify me before class starts, that's considered an unexcused absence. And each unexcused absence will reduce your grade by 5%. Okay. So a priority on being here on a regular basis is really important. Late work. Can I submit my assignments after the due date? Each one of our assignments does have a set due date. So for instance, if we look at our calendar, at the end of this week, we have an assignment due for Module 1. And that's its original set due date, I call it. You are able to hand in practice problems and your assignments 7 days after the set due date for full credit. I call that the 7-day grace period, okay? So you get already built in. So the reason I do that is I found in the past that almost on every single assignment that I would have my due date, and somebody would ask, could I have an extra day or two to hand that in? And I would always say yes, because I just arbitrarily pick really a day. So this really kind of helps you to eliminate having to worry about asking me, can you have a little bit of extra time? I don't have to keep track of who I gave an exception to or a little extension to. And now you just have 7 days to get it in. So it's eliminated a lot of that. Could I have a little bit of extra time? But at the end of the 7-day grace period, there are no additional days of grace. Okay. After that point, for assignments, now remember, we have 2 parts to our grade. For assignments, during the 7-day grace period, you can hand in a second time to make corrections and earn the points back within the 7-day grace period. So the closer to the due date that you hand in, the more time you have to make corrections and get those points back. Okay. And you get all the points back. It's not like half the points back. So if you get 10 points off on the assignment and you make the corrections that I gave you feedback on before the 7-day grace period elapses, you get full credit for that assignment. Okay. Now, if the 7-day grace period elapses, you still can hand in. Okay. You still can hand in, but where is it? But you're going to have a 20% deduction on your assignment. Okay. So if you hand in and you get 80 out of 80 on that assignment, you don't get 80 points, you get 80% of that. You get a 20% deduction after that grace period. Additionally, you don't get any opportunity to make the corrections for the points back either. You just live with the grade that you get because now you're outside of that 7-day grace period. That's assignments, because up here it says you get 2 attempts on that. Okay, so it's the initial submission and corrections as long as it's within the 7-day grace period. Now the practice problems, these are either going to be a 0 or a 10. Practice problems are problems that we do during class. So for instance, in our chapters, there are example problems that they kind of go through. I use those and I go through those and demonstrate those in class. I expect you to follow along and do those with me because they give you practice on how you're going to be doing your homework assignments independently. Now, that's 20% of your grade because when I go through it, it's my encouragement for you to follow along. You get 1 attempt on the practice problems to hand it in by the set due date and within the 7-day grace period. So 7 more days. After that, I don't accept practice problems anymore. All right. And the reason I don't is because they're a 0 or a 10. Because I go over them, I go through them. It's like I give you the answers. You have the answers in here as far as the examples. It's just a matter of making sure that they're in the right format, readable, and you go through all the process. It's either 10 points or no points. Okay. So if you take the time and put them in the right formatting and follow along with me, it should be an easy 10 points for each one of the practice problems for the modules. Okay. So any questions on, and I'll continue to remind you of those things. Like I said, this has been something that I have done in my classes previous to that. So if you have had me a couple times, you're used to this format. If you haven't, I'll continue to reinforce it as we go along, but I try to be as flexible as possible. Okay. No work will be accepted after the final day of the course. Okay, so no extensions into, or after our final day, which is December 13th. Any assignments or practice problems that aren't submitted will be graded as a 0 and calculated into your final grade at that point. Okay. Students who attend class on a regular basis and hand in their work by the due date or very close to it within the grace period earn the highest grades in my courses. Okay. I say this is an unscientific observation after a lot of years of teaching. Okay. So even though we have the flexibility in there, because I know some weeks things happen, right? Life happens. And I want you not to have to stress about getting a homework problem in for me. I would much rather you take a little bit of extra time. Maybe you have and I'm sure you have other classes, other responsibilities outside of class. And I think that gives you then the ability to kind of manage it the way, you need to for yourself. I pick a day. Like I said, I pick Fridays, whether that's a good day for you or not. You might have things going on Thursday night or Friday. Let them continue to go on, then hand in on over the weekend or early the following week. Okay. As long as you stay nice and close to those due dates, you should have no problems. Learning environment etiquette. These are the things that I personally want to make sure that we're doing while we're in class. I don't know, you might have heard of them as like class norms. I pick them though. There's also the student code of conduct, which is part of the WCTC student handbook. Make sure you kind of know what's going on there. You've been at WCTC for a while if you're at this point in the program. So I think you kind of have the lay of the land and such, but just as a reminder, the things that I expect in class when we're together are, number one, always be ready to work when class starts. Come to class with any and all pre-work done. Not all the time do I ask you to do something, but sometimes I maybe want you to be at a certain point on a problem or within a chapter so that we can continue to move on. Be respectful of others by refraining from chatting to other students while others are asking questions, or when I'm lecturing, it's distracting. During open work time, and we always will have it. Usually I'll lecture for an hour and a half on whatever is new in the subject that we're working on. And then you're going to have time to work on making progress on the homework or doing other things. So that's what I call open work time. That is your time to use as you choose. And I say that because I'm not going to hold you here in class after I'm done lecturing for you to have to like finish your homework before you leave. You're an adult. I will let you, determine how you want to use your time. Some people are coming after a full day of work and it's getting late and they've like kind of had enough. I understand that. So you're welcome to leave once we're done with lecture to use that time as you would, but I'm going to stick around until the last person or the end of our class so that anybody who does want to work and have me available to answer questions, that's what I'm here for. Okay. During that open work time, I don't mind if we talk and work together, but keep the personal conversations to a lower volume. And the subjects that I am going to shut down or are off limits are going to be religion, politics, especially this year, sex and race, or anything else that is going to cause angst. I want to make sure that we have a good environment and nobody is feeling excluded or uncomfortable while they are here. Feel free to ask any questions that come up as we're doing our lecture. Yes, I am recording, but this is not a production, okay? I am just recording what's going on in class. And I think it's very beneficial. Don't feel like you can't answer a question because I'm recording. I want those questions on the record because anybody who is either virtual or maybe watching it on the replay, they're benefiting from your questions. So I want it to be just like we would in class. No swearing in my class. Please refrain from that. I understand if it slips sometimes, and sometimes you get a little frustrated, but it's good practice to actively work on keeping your vocabulary professional, especially as you're going to be going out into the workplace. Working in an office, in an engineering department, the expectation is professionalism, and part of that is the language that you use. So let's not swear when we're here at school in my class. And then always apply the golden rule. Do unto others as you would have done unto you. If you notice somebody is struggling or needs a little bit of help, lean over and do that, especially during our open work time. I'm here to answer questions. Of course, I'm not trying to push off my responsibilities, but one of the best ways to actively learn something is to explain it to somebody else. We have a whole classroom of people here. I'm lecturing. I know what I'm trying to say. Everybody might take it in a little bit different way or pick up little bits and pieces. And so collectively, working together is something that I encourage you to do. We all know the difference between cheating and helping each other out. Okay. So don't cross that line. Personal electronic devices. So we all probably have our phone around, right? I have mine over here on my desk. I put it on do not disturb when we're in class, so it doesn't disturb me. My expectation is for you to do that very same thing. If you remember to turn your ringer off, maybe put it on vibrate if you are expecting something to come in that you might have to take care of. And if you do need to take care of something, you can just get up and walk out and take care of your business. And then that way you don't have to worry about it. You're not going to lose points or anything like that. Or if you forget to turn your ringer off and it rings, I'm not gonna, get mad or anything. Things happen. So just be, respectful of it and make sure that it's not a distraction. Other policies, correcting assignments. I kind of briefly talked about this, but I encourage you to make corrections to graded assignments. I believe that is a very valuable learning tool. If we make a mistake on something, we tend to remember it and it sinks in a little bit further as far as understanding. So I want you to do that. So you can resubmit one time to earn points back within that 7-day grace period. to earn all the points back. So if you hand in, you get some points off, you resubmit within the 7-day grace period, you have earned back all of those points. I think that's really valuable, and I want to encourage you to do that, okay? If you hand in after that 7-day grace period, a 20% deduction will occur and no corrections will be available to you, okay? I'll still give you feedback and kind of mark things up so that you can see maybe where the issues were, but you won't get that opportunity to hand it in, okay? Now, practice problems, on the other hand, they will be fully worked and demonstrated during our lectures. So my expectation is that you're following along and kind of doing them right along with me. For this reason, there's only one submission allowed because I basically give them to you, okay? No corrections, and a grade of either 10 or 0 will be assessed. If there's 1 or 2 little things that crop up that you forgot, you'll still get a 10. I'll just note them. But if it's like more than 2 little things, then it's a 0, okay? And again, you can't correct them. So if you submit before I go over all the examples, the risk that you run is that you're not doing them the way that I want you to, and you get 0 then on everything. So so make sure that you wait to submit practice problems until we've gone through them. After the 7-day grace period elapses, they just go to a 0. I don't accept them anymore after that. Extensions. There are no extensions after the end date of this course to finish any work. So that's when we're going to get everything handed in. Communication outside of class. Feel free to email me at my WCTC email as listed there, but you can also text or call me at the number that I have here. That's probably the most efficient way to get a hold of me. So if you happen to be working and you have a question, feel free to text me. I'm okay with that. Please note that I don't guarantee a response on weekends or after 8. Again, I have that in there. I kind of chuckle and laugh at it. Definitely text me on the weekend. I will get back to you again. It just might not be as quickly as otherwise. And then also after 8, if you don't hear from me, I'm not ignoring you. It just might be that I'm not awake. Cheating. If you're caught cheating in my class, using somebody else's work, copying somebody's work, you will be withdrawn immediately and given an F in this class, okay? I don't suspect that it happens very often. I hope it doesn't. I hope it doesn't. The types of assignments that I hand in for you, I know about Chegg. I have kids that are in college, and so yeah, I know about Chegg. And sometimes it's a good way to kind of see, and see what the answer may be, or what somebody else came up with the answer. But the types of things that I have you guys hand in, they don't lend themselves to that. You have to work out the problems. I have to see how you set things up. I have to see what the what the drawing looks like. So you're still going to end up having to do it. And if you copy someone's file, believe it or not, it's really easy for me to figure that out. Okay. There's always an electronic way in the kind of the back door of the file where I can see where it originated. So if I suspect, I start looking. I don't suspect anybody is doing it, so I'm not looking. So if I catch you cheating, you're not very good at it. Okay, that's kind of the facts. And I think usually I feel worse about it than the person who's cheating, but then you're just gonna have to take over the class. And this class is only offered once a year, which sets you back quite a bit, in reaching your goal of getting your associate degree. And chances are I'm going to be the instructor the next time too. So I hope cheating doesn't go on very often, because I've tried to eliminate reasons why you would cheat. Most often you're cheating, people cheat. I'm not saying you're cheating. People cheat because the due date has come up and they're running out of time, right? They're trying to get it in really quickly. So by having the grace period and then also the ability to hand in, get 80% of that grade, I hope people are choosing not to, because there's really not an urgency for you to do that. So if you feel that urge, or if somebody approaches you, discourage them to do it and say, just ask Kelly, just go ask her. Don't worry about it. It'll be fine. So, so make sure you don't cheat. All right. Any questions on that? All right. Outside of classwork. Now, we do have open work time during class, and I think you can get done with a majority of what I assign during that time if you really focus. But I understand maybe sometimes there might be additional time that you need outside of class. So you can expect that, you can have upwards of an additional 2 to 3 hours per class time outside of class that you could be working on that. Did that come out right? So this is a 10-hour-a-week course. 20 to 30 hours, I think, is excessive, but In some cases, it may happen, okay? So just know that just because we have 10 hours a week here doesn't mean that you're only going to spend 10 hours on kinematics. You may be spending more time outside of class on that, okay? But again, the majority should get done during our class time. If you end up needing help, WCTC has a wonderful academic resource centers. So like the math center, I think there's a reading center, a writing center, all that kind of stuff. And there's also me and your helpful classmates that you have. So, so if you are struggling, don't wait. 8 weeks goes by really fast, and you need to, you know, just reach out and let me know how I can help you. Or if you are feeling a little bit overwhelmed, let's talk about how we can get caught up. Okay. So, so I'm here to help. And this is kind of boilerplate stuff. I think that's it. Any questions syllabus wise? I know this is one of those first week, first day things that we have to do. So let's take a peek at Canvas and how this is organized. So as you come into Canvas, there's kind of this welcome page, which you probably saw, and I sent as an announcement as well. Any announcements that you will get via email, but if you need to check back on an announcement, you can click here and you have access to any and all announcements that are there. We already talked about the syllabus, and then the modules is where the main information that you're going to be using in this class is going to be housed. So first of all, as we had mentioned in the syllabus, if you did want off-campus access to AutoCAD, here is the place you can get that link. So you want to click on the free student version. Now, a couple things, and this is important. You are going to be downloading the 2024 version. So if we go out here, and I think it's just AutoCAD. When you look here, this is educational access to all Autodesk products. You need to go down a little bit, and the AutoCAD for like a PC is going to be the first one on the left in the second column, if that's how yours is. There is AutoCAD for Mac. I would discourage using that. AutoCAD was not developed for Mac. It runs fine, but there still are differences, just like a Mac to a PC is. So I would always default to the regular PC version if indeed you have that, okay? Now, when you go in here, you're gonna select that. Make sure that when you fill in your email, it is your WCTC email. Otherwise, you will be rejected, okay? They won't let you use it. That's your proof that you are a current student. Additionally, make sure that if you have any old versions of AutoCAD from, previously downloading, make sure that you fully uninstall those first. This is not an upgrade, and you're not going to get a new key and then just enter it in and it's magically updated. You have to fully uninstall, and then you're going to download and fully install the newer version. Okay. So 2024 is going to be the version that you want. If you're doing it off campus, depending on your Wi-Fi speed or your internet speed will kind of depend on how long it takes. It can take a half hour, 45 minutes, an hour to download. It's a big package, okay? Because you get full access to full AutoCAD. When we go back over here, the note that I have at the bottom is that it must be used for educational purposes only. Okay, you cannot be used on any projects that will have an end result of a profit, even if it's down the road that you might have. So you might have a great idea for, something that you want to design and maybe market, manufacture, profit from it in the future. You cannot use this version of AutoCAD to design that. All right, you would have to buy a full version in order for that to be, if you would, legal. All right, so only educational purposes. So anything that we're doing here at WCTC is what you would want to use it for. And then as I was looking here, this is a mistake. So let me update this right away. It's the 2024 version of AutoCAD, okay? Not the 2023. Right. I don't know if you have a choice of versions. I know SolidWorks gives you a choice when you download, but I'm not sure about AutoCAD. It gives you choices as well. So 2024 is what's on the computers here. That gives you compatibility between the two. Now, AutoCAD is even if you would do an older version, It's a little bit more forgiving than the other softwares, meaning that when you save your files in AutoCAD, they actually save to an older version automatically. So if you don't have the most current, you can pull it up on older versions. So, so it's a little bit, we call reverse compatible. SolidWorks and Creo are not very nice that way. Once you pull up in a new version, you're done. So, if you need to know what requirements you need to have on your computer, this link down here kind of gives you that guidance. I will tell you that I have an older computer at home and I run AutoCAD 2024, and I know my RAM isn't quite where it's supposed to be, and I don't have a super fast graphics card. So, and it runs just fine. So even if they give the recommendations, I would still give it a try and see how it goes, because AutoCAD is pretty forgiving. All right. Any questions on the free student version? Okay. All right. So back to modules. This is, like I said, where you're going to kind of live week to week. So our first module, which is we're going to be working on and starting today and working on this week, is Introduction to Kinematics and Displacement Analysis. And you're going to notice that there's two distinct parts to it, only because it's 2 chapters. So it's 1 module, but 2 chapters. The rest of the modules are going to be 1 chapter each. So that's why we have kind of a part 1 and a part 2 here. We spend a little bit more time just on this introduction stuff. Now, when we go into the part 1 or the part 2 learning plan, this is going to give you the chapter that we're going to be referencing. I usually tell you to, and I'm going to say in quotes loosely, read chapter 1. But the PowerPoint presentation directly below here is what I'm going to use during our lecture demos. And it's going to outline the sections in the chapter that you're responsible for. So if I don't lecture on the section, or it's not in my PowerPoint, you're not responsible for that section in the chapter. And we don't go over each and every section, each and every example. So only what we go over and what you find in the PowerPoints is what you're responsible for, and what will, kind of lead into your homework assignment. Then you're going to notice that you're going to attend and view each one of the video or each one of the lectures, perform the example or practice problems during our class lectures. So don't hand in your practice problems. Don't work ahead on practice problems, because sometimes I change it up a little bit because of the way I want you to work it. Sometimes the example in the book, I might want you to do more, or I might want you to do less. So, so make sure that you don't try to submit until we've really gone through all of the lectures, because I'm, again, going to give you all the information you need for the practice problems. And then submit your assignment then as well that corresponds. So if I go back a level, that's going to be our learning plan. So we have 2 of them here, 1 for chapter 1, 1 for chapter 4. And then you're going to notice that we have session recordings. So because I taught this very same class last year, down below the line is going to be the previous lectures that I have recorded out there. So in the event that you're like, I need more lecture on this, okay, I'm going to tell you it's going to be the same examples, the same chapters, so it's going to be the same. But what students do find handy sometimes is if they know they're not going to be here and they want to work ahead. You have that opportunity because the lectures from last year are out there, and it's going to be the same information and the same assignments and such. So, so anything above the line is going to be current to this year. Anything below the line is going to be previous from last year. So that's the recordings. And then the indents are going to be the assignments that you're going to be handing in. So notice you have practice problems. I call it mod 1A because that's like part A or part 1. Practice problems, which are going to be chapter 1. So it says at the top here, follow along with the lecture and complete the following practice problems as demonstrated. So, so we're going to have these examples that we're going to be going through. And then I also have completed sentence below at the end of the document. So you need to tell me 2 things that you learned in this module, 2 things you still feel like you need additional practice to feel confident on, and then tell me what you feel the main objective of this module was, okay? I just want you to kind of, put a little bit more thought into, not just doing the stuff I tell you to do, but now what did I just learn, okay? So, so don't forget that, because that's part of the 10 points that you're going to get. Okay. Now remember, it's either 0 or 10. So if you don't fill out and you don't do everything that's on here, you could get a 0. I don't want that to happen. Okay. So just kind of pay attention to that. And we'll When we get ready to hand those in, we'll go over that again. Then you're going to notice that there's our first assignment. When you click on the assignment here, these are all going to come out of the back of the book. It looks like a lot, doesn't it? Oh my goodness. So actually, the kinematic diagrams that you're going to be doing are the first, it looks like 6 here. Okay. And we're going to be that's what we're practicing today, the next time we're together and such. Then you're going to be doing mobility calculations for the 6 problems on top. So even though it looks like 12 problems, it's really kind of 6 problems. Okay. The mobility equations are actually quite simple. So that'll just go hand in hand with that same problem that's above. And then I've got 2 case studies for you to do, which are just really kind of answering some questions. So, so when we are ready to kind of look at that, we'll look at that in more detail. And you'll notice that you have practice problems for what would be chapter 4. Okay. And then your assignment pertaining to chapter 4 as well. Okay. So again, I will get you prepared for these things, but as we look down at the next module, you have a learning plan, session recordings, and then practice problems and assignment. This is only 1 chapter, so there's not as many lines in this one. That's the reason. And all of them will continue to be just 1 chapter as you go through. Okay, so so that's kind of the rhythm of the class. Any questions at this time? Before we leave Canvas, the other place I want to call your attention to is the calendar. The calendar is always going to be populated, as I said earlier, with what we're going to be doing, the time that we're meeting, as well as the assignments. All assignments are going to be due on Fridays. Okay. And again, that's my day that I'm picking for assignments to be due. If you need to exercise the 7-day grace period, that's there for you. You don't have to ask me, can I have over the weekend? You've got it. Okay. It's already built in. So, if I need to change anything on the schedule, it will always be in your favor. I will never, for instance, be like, oh, I'm going to move something so that it's going to be quicker than I feel that we can do. If anything, I'm going to move it further away because we maybe didn't get done with as much information as I thought we would, but normally. Lastly, as we look at our calendar, Monday and Wednesday, we're here for 4 hours each, and then we have 2 hours on Friday. I know it's so fun to hear that Fridays are optional, but they're not. I am sorry about that. Right now, I will let you know what Friday looks like on Wednesday. This Friday, we will be lecturing. I know, because we have just module 1. There's just more stuff in here as we get kicked off here to get everything in. But next week, Wednesday, we'll kind of see where we sit on module 2. If we've gotten enough done and I feel like all we have left is homework, it might be a work day, okay? And you just check in if you have questions. But for right now, plan every Friday as a Zoom Friday, unless I tell you otherwise on Wednesday. And we won't know really till the end of the day on Wednesday, okay? So I can't promise it. I know there'll be some that are going to sneak in there, but I will be lecturing on some Fridays, okay? All right. So any questions on the syllabus or the Canvas course or the overview that we have here at all? Policies, how things are run? All right. Okay. All right. Then I'm going to stop recording at this time.